Welcome to week 4 of the Benzocaine lab. Today we're going to start with a 1-hour reflux. I have 0.66 grams of starting material. Took my whey paper, kind of folded it into a little funnel. Going to load that material into my round bottom. I got most of it in there. Next I'm going to add my 5 mils of ethanol. Then 0.5 mils of sulfuric acid. Put my disposable pipette into proper storage. Throw my whey paper into the proper disposable bucket. Before I proceed, I like to make sure I don't have anything on my ground glass joint. Just a scant amount of powder on there. So I don't want to weld my glassware together. All right. Next I'll add 3, because that's what came out, boiling chips. Put my condenser on top. You don't have to have the distillation column in there. I like it. Some people don't. And then my long stem funnel, just in case it bumps. I'll start my heat. Since we're boiling a mixture that's going to boil around 77 degrees, I'm going to crank that heat up probably to about 5, 6. Watch it. Back it off if I need to. And once it starts dripping back into my round bottom, I officially begin my 1-hour reflux. So our reflux has started. I have ethanol returning back to the round bottom. Our vapor line's here, it's almost to the condenser. It's not aggressively boiling, it's just a gentle, nice boil. So I'll call that good. I'll let this go for an hour and then I'll return and we'll work this up. While I'm waiting for this reflux to be complete, I'm going to assemble my set funnel. I put my stopcock in. I want to follow that with my Teflon ring. That allows this to rotate. Then I want the larger of my O-rings on and my nut. That's going to give the pressure to hold everything tight so it doesn't leak. So now I have a nice fitting stopcock. I like to put a beaker under. So I want to check this, make sure it doesn't leak. That's what the beaker's underneath it for. Just put a little bit of dichloromethane in there. Sorry about that. And I want to make sure my funnel's good and dry. See if this thing holds with a little bit of pressure. For a refresher, when you guys are doing this, you want to make sure that that stopcock is held in by your hand, especially when you're doing your neutralization, because it's going to have a lot of gas generated and it's going to blow that back end off. All I'm trying to do is make sure the stopcock does not leak. And don't forget, when you're going to open it up, you have to remove that ground glass joint or you create a vacuum. So it held pretty good. Obviously it had pressure. I'll leave that open to dry. See if I can break that. So now that everything's out, take it apart, I'm going to add my 10 mils of water. And then I'm going to add my sodium carbonate. So my sodium carbonate's in. It foamed a little bit. I added slowly. I'm going to take this solution and try not to get the chunks of carbonate left along with the boiling chips. I want them to stay in the flask. It's because the less stuff in here, the better off I am. So I decanted everything nicely. Got some excess carbonate and my boiling chips in here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our extraction using dichloromethane. We do 2 10 mil extractions. Just a skosh over. Put my cap on. Take my flask and gently swirl and vent. I'm going to continue to do that until I don't hear any more pressure being released. All right, so I'm going to let it settle, separate the 2 layers, put my aqueous back in, repeat that, put my 2 organic layers together, put them back in after I remove the aqueous, and I'll start from that point. So I have my organic layer separated and back in the separatory funnel. And now I'm going to wash this with 10 mils of saturated sodium chloride. So I'm going to place this in. Give it a gentle swirl. Have a floaty in there, but we'll try not to get that. Let that break. Once those 2 layers break apart, we'll take our organic back out again. I'm gonna call that good. And take that organic layer, and I'm going to dry it with about a pea-sized amount of sodium sulfate. Pretty clumped up, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Again, I see nice clumps, not granules, so I'll add a little bit more. So now I see granule-sized pieces in there floating around. So I'm going to assume that that's dry. The excess I poured into that cap went into a waste jet. I'm going to carefully decant this, not taking the sulfate. Then I'm going to dry that out on a hot plate. Clean up my hood a little bit, give myself some room. So I don't want this to just sit on here and cook until it burns whatever's in the bottom. So I'm going to want to move this around when it starts to heat up and boil off the dichloromethane. That's where your nice handy tongs come in, if I don't knock everything off. Get a little bit of heat already. So I'm starting to boil. Just gently keep moving this around with our tongs. And I'll continue this until it gets down to where it's just my Benzocaine product left. down to about 10 mils. So I have my hot plate cranked up, and when it reached the temperature that it started boiling the dichloromethane, I backed it off into where the light would come off and on at that point. But as my volume comes down, I could probably back it off just a little bit. So after vigorously scraping out this beaker, I ended up with 0.504 grams of my product before recrystallization. So now what I want to do is I want to get just the bottom wet. I want to get my pipette warmed up. And once that's all, the bottom's wet, I'm going to put that on there. Keep moving it. Just turn my heat down a little bit, because this is going to oil at this temperature. Okay, I'm just going to add just a pinch more. So now I'm going to add water until I see crystals form. And I'm starting to see them. There we have a nice cloudy solution. And I'm going to come back with my methanol. I'm going to start an alcohol fire. And it looks like we're all in. No particulate. So I'll set that on the counter, let it cool down. Maybe one blob. And I'll ice that down after it solidifies and then collect it. So I got nice crystal formation. I'm going to ice that down now. And then I'll collect that via vacuum filtration. Wash it with ice cold methanol, and then we'll get our final yield. So our final mass is 0.305 grams.